Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Master Powercast. We're here tonight, continuing our little original story aspect. This go around, the wheel is not going to decide. This is just going to be the two of us riffing ideas, and it's going to be Beyond the Vine Jungle, and it's going to be based on an abandoned playset design, which we will kind of delve into a little bit more here in a bit. Yes, Tyler?
Also, I meant to tell you before we get going. I'd rather wait and reveal like the other part of this story once we get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
We are doing a story based on the unreleased Jungle playset, but I meant I didn't even think about it before. I meant earlier today, just like let's hold on. I want that one other part that's going to be a part of the story to be revealed, and then we'll discuss that in once we reach that point. If people don't know who we're talking about.
Let me go ahead and put this up on the screen. It's exactly what Tyler was talking about. Not so you see it in the thumbnail, of course, but this looks very familiar to most people. So
Mm-hmm.
what this was is, I guess, a design that I don't. What are the origins of this? This wasn't for anything in particular prior to Masters of the Universe, correct? This is just something that was in the development stages.
Yeah, and I saw this for the first time in the Power and Honor Foundation book, and I took it as it was a concept that was just essentially just repurposed for Snake Mountain.
Yeah, you can see a lot of the elements
Oh God, yeah.
that would find its way into what would become Snake Mountain, but this is sort of the beginnings of getting to that point, was taking this playset and looking at that and then starting to brainstorm a little more to turn it into what we eventually got.
I was so fascinated when I saw this because it I was like, oh my God, like a jungle playset for He-Man. Like this I was fascinated by jungles when I was real little, and I just it makes me think of this dinosaur pop-up book I got for as a Christmas present that opened up and made like this pop-up jungle structure that you could put like toy dinosaurs in and things like that, and there were so many integral parts to it, and it always made me think of, or this place that always reminded me of that. And I just think about the the kind of adventures from the waterfall there, the bridge, the various boulders, and of course the massive snake at the top of the mountain. um it just, it was like God, all these like little nooks and crannies to like crawl into and things like that. It just seemed like such a logical, neutral battleground for action figures. And I wish they had just repurposed it after they used it for Snake Mountain and released it as a jungle playset for, a variety. I mean, use it for whatever you want. You want to use it as, just a neutral like adventure set, or you want to use it for bad guys, for good guys, or for the Snake Men. After they came out, give them like their own hideout or something like that. But I just thought it was such a fascinating concept, and it just broke my heart to think that this was an idea and they just scrapped it and went with Snake Mountain. Which I'm glad we got Snake Mountain, but um, it just made me wish like this would have been. I'd have been all about this playset as a kid. I really would have.
I'm genuinely surprised that this didn't get repurposed and used in another toy line after Masters of the Universe. Like
Yeah.
this concept idea, taking this and turning it into something too. Because Mattel, uh, much like Kenner, much like Hasbro after the fact, they like to reuse a lot of older molds of stuff that they've used prior in other toy lines to repurpose it, pop it in. Sometimes I like to think of Mattel with the New Adventures and using that for some of the Demolition Man stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Most
So
definitely.
yeah, but here is the playset as you can see it. Tyler, seeing this kind of inspired, obviously, the story that we're going to get, which you have dubbed Beyond the Vine Jungle.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and start diving into that.
Yeah. When I just looked at that again, like I like to look at a lot of random stuff. I told Nathan, I said, it'd be fun if we just talked about this. And I said, what if we came up with like our own original story for this? And he's like, that sounds like a great idea. So, um, when I started thinking about it, I was like, wait, we could really use this to introduce something else that has never been, or it was much years later, but was conceived as another prototype, much like this playset, and just never got its day in the original line. So that's what kind of got the ball rolling even more, of like that would be a kind of a fun concept. So my idea for this was to start it out with an emissary from a kingdom we have not been introduced to, the kingdom of King Cholo, and his kingdom is called Ajaga. And I just thought, like, this would be like a mini comic. This the idea behind this is a mini comic package with this place if we were to get it, the vintage line.
Yeah. So as we're doing this story, we have to start to really look at it as we got to break it down into 14 pages.
14 pages. Now, and I think if I've got dialogue, I've got scenes and stuff like that, but I think it would be very easy to condense this down into 14 pages. The cast of characters is small. It's just more about scope and Easter eggs here and there, and then introducing these two concepts into the story, which in my mind I'm thinking like maybe this would be introduced like at the end of 80, like heading into 1988. They were going to repackage and repurpose a lot of characters with the same used parts, and like, why not aim for that?
Can we talk about 88? It's kind of interesting that you brought that up, because I did receive a message today from one Tom Breisky. He sent me the Errol McCarthy illustrations. And you know which ones I'm talking about.
Yes,
towards those latter years. And Tom said, I have a theory. I think Mattel planned to release a movie-style version of He-Man. And then he shows me the illustrations. But yeah. He's like, the 1988 wave never got released. There are also sketch designs for the Trooper figure and a Karg figure. I bet you a movie version of He-Man and Skeletor were planned too. To which I replied, without a doubt, I think had the movie done better numbers that they were wanting, that would reinvigorate interest in the line again, that would have been the direction. So,
well, we have to blame Canon because they couldn't afford to keep the movie in theaters, even though the movie technically made more money each week after that. So,
so hypothetically, had Canon kept it together and not fallen apart here at the end from Stallone films, which I watched Over the Top a few days ago. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. With Tom sending me this, we have this 88 wave. We're gonna put this place set out with that, correct?
Yeah, I feel like that. This seems very, very appropriate, and I also feel like too, those concept characters were given such shitty names when Super 7 like decided to, which I was glad we got them, but I was like, these names suck. Like I don't know if this is the real names that they went with, or this is something that Super 7's like, well, they weren't given names, so we're just going to come up with them. And I don't know. Because I remember some of them were even changed. Like I remember Hot Shot, like the character with the Fisto head was renamed Plasma. I'm like, that sucks. Anyway, but I'm like, yeah. But anyway, that's we can discuss that a little later on. But very appropriate for Tom to send that. But I thought this would be a story that would open up with the royal palace receiving an emissary from the kingdom of Ajaga, and it's an old ally of King Randor's named King Cholo, who is asking for help, that his kingdom is being plundered for food resources constantly, and they have no means of combating and need outside help to help rid their kingdom of this, because they're damn near, well, they're not borderline, they are impoverished at this point. Yeah. So my idea was to have King Randor sends not Prince Adam, but He-Man, Teela, and Clampchamp as emissaries to the kingdom to see what is going on, and can they fix this problem. And you have like this bit of a journey with heading into the vine jungle, and little Easter eggs like seeing the kingdom of the cat people, from Cat and the Spider, and maybe like a nod to like King Paul and Katrina, like as they're driving by in the attack track or something like that. Just kind of really building the scale and scope of like, okay, they're going deep into the vine jungle to find this kingdom that's deep in there, and that they would come to this kingdom and be greeted by King Sholo, and just see this devastated kingdom. Like it's not like the walls are completely destroyed or anything like that, but it just looks very desolate. The people are very unhappy, malnourished. I'm not trying to paint like a Sally Struthers commercial here or anything like that. It's not what I'm going for.
Right.
But I picture King Sholo too, because I've always wanted to see a He-Man character that looked like Shaka Zulu. I just thought like that African tribal leader, and because there in the He-Man magazine in the 80s, there's when He-Man comes to, I think, Africa, there's like a Earl Norm painting of He-Man meeting this tribal leader, and I thought, my God, that reminds me so much of Shaka Zulu. And I just thought that'd be so cool to see a character that looks a lot like the actual African tribe leader, but in He-Man form, with like a cool headdress, the belt and the loincloth, and various weapons that would be very appropriate for the He-Man mythology, but embodies a very strong leader. But it's run like an actual kingdom. It's not like an African tribe or anything like that, but it's a kingdom like any others. But that's the kind of look and feel of it. And I made a lot of notes here, so
I'm trying to get a visual representation of what you're talking about here.
Yeah, that's a nice illustration of from the miniseries. And I just thought a character that looked like that would be so badass in the mythology of He-Man. So that's kind of what I had in mind for King Sholo.
Okay.
So
let me ask you this, because this was kind of posed here in the chat, saying the Vine Jungle was Mossman's territory according to Filmation and some of the books and comics. Does that aspect of it kind of work into this story as well, if we're going beyond it kind of thing, or nothing to do with this?
Not really, nothing to do with that. I mean, not to say it's this story doesn't concern him. It's something that I just wanted to focus on a small group of characters. And I initially thought about Malactha, but I'm like, I don't want to make it too cast heavy, and
plus we use Malactha.
And I thought about that too. Like I was like, we just used him. Not that you could have too much Malactha, but I just felt like if we're going to do an original story, I was like, let me not overdo the cast. So I just thought He-Man, Teela, and Clamp Chant would be more than enough for this story here. Plus, you're introducing this new king, the concept playset, and plus something else that'll be coming down a little later in the story. And so as they're greeted by King Sholo, and Clamp Champ looks down over the hill as they're coming into the kingdom and sees this torn and tattered, just fallen apart cage, like a really large cage. And he asks King Sholo, what is this over here? And he's like, oh, I'm ashamed to say that my ancestors are into competitive sport. That's a part of this kingdom that we would much rather pretend never happened. And since we're kind of addressing this issue right now, that is kind of the reason why we are facing the issue we're facing right now. And He-Man goes, well, please explain, what is this? And he said, well, we don't say his name, but we refer to him as the Golden Tyrant. And unfortunately, my ancestors used a variety of races and species in combative sport for their own pleasure. And this particular individual grew very unbeatable over time. And I guess decided to, after a while of being thrown in the pit for combative sport, realized he didn't like this anymore and rebelled along with other allies and companions and overthrew and left the area and started their own society on a mountain beyond the Vine Jungle. And ever since then, they have been looting and plundering our kingdom for food. And we have to comply because he's kidnapped my daughter.
Hmm.
So we have
Interesting.
to just continue to keep giving more and more food. I'm like, we're running out of resources, He-Man. Like and I'm not going to fight back because he might kill my daughter. So
Right.
I'm kind of at a loss here. Like I want to protect my people. We need food, but I've got to protect, my child as well. And so He-Man and Clan Chamatilla decided, all right, we'll venture out through the vine jungle and see if we can't find a way to this unknown mountain. And Shola warns that we send our people there to drop off food. There are traps and various other things along that mountain. So I'm just giving you a heads up. You're not going with food. So be prepared for the unknown. And our people tell us that the top of the mountain is guarded by a large serpent. So
What in this regard? I mean, obviously, for him to know that traps are laid about, some of these that have taken food would have had to
yeah,
have returned. But
yeah.
I'm assuming that the return rate of these troops probably not a decent percentage, correct? Or does it work does this play later in the later part of kind of what you have cogs of the wheel with this story, that these guys are sent back, but for XYZ?
It's in my initial mind or thinking was that as long as people were coming with food, they were allowed to come and go. But to keep any invaders out or anyone trying to maybe even break in and steal the princess, that's why the place was set up with traps. And as to who's setting the traps off, it's left unknown right now.
So at this point in the story, about how far are you kind of gauging for us to be in the mini comic?
I'd say, like I said, the opening I would figure would be like this nice big splash panel of an emissary from Ajaga speaking to King Randor, your old ally, King Charlotte was asking for help. So just one nice big panel with like Prince Adam, Clan Champantila, observing this.
Yeah.
Adam says, well, you know what, maybe He-Man would be better suited for this job, Father. He's like, what, it's a good idea. I'm glad you're taking, you're showing interest in affairs like this. See if you can't find him. So probably within the first 2-3 pages, because I think throwing in a couple of nice little, like I said, nods as they're going through the vine jungle to find the kingdom, and see a nice maybe half panel of what this kingdom looks like, and some of the people there, and seeing the shot of the old combative cage. You can probably think of something along the lines that looks like the one in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Okay. Yeah.
Something along those lines that's very large, but just has been beaten down and just fallen apart from age and neglect for good reason.
And how much time has passed between them working together to break free and start their own society, as opposed to when they were there in their combative sport?
I'd say, because I almost feel like, I don't want to spoil anything yet,
Right.
but I was really thinking at least 20 years or more.
Hmm.
And granted,
That's a lot longer than I thought you were going to go
yeah,
with.
because I feel like
Well,
what we're going to introduce a little later on can live a pretty good while.
what do you think? Do you think 20 would be too much? I only ask that because if they've gone and started this place and they're coming here, I guess 20 would work best if they did their own thing, went elsewhere to deplete resources, and then started coming here to gradually start dwindling them down. Because if they're going from that to take and take and take, then I think they would have been out, but like well before the 20-year period here.
I think, and this is something too that I'll address a little later on, is that it's a gradual, like it's something that the person, this gladiator is that's responsible for this, has become very greedy. It doesn't necessarily start out with, and which is
So
like,
it starts out small, and then as the confidence builds, get the daughter. At what point is the daughter taken in this time frame too?
I'd say probably within the last couple of months, because I feel like that is getting to where
to really expedite the process more.
Yeah, it's like, look, you guys are it's something, because the character King Killer is like trying to show, like, we're not interested in being combative and threatening and trying to fight. We're trying to show that we're not like our ancestors. So that's why we're not trying to threaten to kill or go into battle or just charge up there with everything we've got and take my daughter back. We're trying to prove that, we're not like that anymore.
And in that instance, I guess the 20-year time frame works best, because when you're saying ancestors, we're talking about maybe a generational shift, where it's like, all right, we're not going to be like who was in power before kind of aspect. All right, I'm with you now. I just a couple of questions that I had along the way.
This is what I wanted you to do. I wanted you to throw in anything that you got, any questions like that.
So it's basically like there was an understanding and kind of an agreement, a treaty almost, to a degree. It's like, yeah, all right, you can have this, and this will be the amount of whatever resource. Like, okay, you can have this, and then it's once the daughter is kidnapped, and then it's like, look what I have, I want more.
Yeah, it's like I don't care about your problems about feeding your people. I demand food. Bring me resources. I don't care about your problems,
because our warrior is now built up enough in this mountain society that it's the power balance has now shifted, both manpower wise and just the general what's the word I'm looking for here, I don't want to say battle strategies, because they're not in full out war, because they've had this, all right, you can take in exchange, but just a power shift has gradually happened over time, and now he's like, now's the time to strike and really
put him in the ground. I'll explain a little bit of the motivation too. Once this character is introduced as well. So He-Man, Clan Champion Matilda, they've got their mission now. Now it's like, now we've got to venture to areas we've never been to before. So this would be the time to kind of showcase a lot of fun images, a couple of panels of going through very exotic areas of the vine jungle that they've never experienced before, and then getting beyond that, and then coming to this massive clearing, and you see right up there is the mountain. You see the waterfall, you see the rickety bridge, and you see like the top of like the gateway into it, and it doesn't appear there's anything there. So they start to venture. Yeah, here we go.
Let's put this back up so people get the visual. So when they reach the clearing, what they're gonna see here is just a better looking version of what you see in the
bigger in proportion. This is two massive mountains, and this bridge that links them together, this waterfall that's I really want to make that look a source of danger as well. And you see the cliffs there and the rocks, like right there. There's a rock right there that's clearly meant to fall down on people. So they you really want, and of course the laser cannon as well. So I was like, you know what, I'll all of these traps and things like that and elements, I really wanted to work into the story. So as they're approaching the mountain, they appear to be fired on by as this, I don't want to say ancient laser cannon, but obviously a cannon that is old but has been still put to good use. But you don't see who's firing it. And
much like how you see in the toy, like it's obscured from view. Someone's behind it, but you can't see who's there.
Yeah. So then they managed to get past that and like trying to cross the waterfall without falling down into the which I like to believe or imagine that there's a large body of water that just swoops further down, like the waterfall feeds into this river that just it's just like a rapid river. Like if you fall in there, you're gonna have a hard time trying to swim back because the current is so damn strong, pushing you out to God knows where. So it's important to like to get to the waterfall, don't slip and fall in, and then making it, past the first one. Now they got to cross this long. Think of the bridge in Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
That's what I want to think about in terms of like what this would look like in terms of like scale. And all of a sudden, as they're starting to cross the bridge, they see a variety of wild animals hanging and scream like roaring and yelling like various you name it, from maybe, there you go, that's what it looked like in scale, like this long ass very dangerous fall if you were to go over, or something would have knocked you down or anything like that. And so I had this idea of all kinds of jungle animals, just trying to intimidate. And I had a couple of wild baboons just come crawling out, and they go and find this rock and start pushing the rock, which is causing He-Man, Teela, and Clancy. We got to move it, and just run across the bridge as fast as they can as they're being yelled at, and they're thinking animals are gonna start charging at it, but they don't. It's just fine. It's a way to work in the traps of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And so they
that would be good to have that in the story, because obviously what we've seen in a lot of the mini comics prior, depending on most of the time, it had to do with the gimmicks on figures. So
Yeah.
you always got to work in the gimmick. That way, when the kid, even if they can't read yet, they can visually see what's going on, and they can replicate that with the playset.
Absolutely. And try to envision, like, not just animals that look like of our world, but animals that would be very similar to our world, but the ones that would exist in Eternia. So I don't want to picture like, people just think flat out, tigers and lions and baboons and they would be of Eternian, elements, that they would be a little more fantasy based, but some things that are quite recognizable as well,
Right.
Like what a ape would look like on Eternia. What would tigers and lions and various things like that. Just various creatures that are just all out to attack these intruders who clearly aren't carrying any food. So they make it up to the top of the mountain, and they get up there and they see the gate, and here we go. Now we've got the massive serpent that emerges from out of the mountain and starts attacking and snapping at them. And they're on a cliff, so they got to be extra careful here. So my thinking was that Clamp Champ, being the badass he is, just leaps onto the back of the snake, just trying to restrain it, like squeezing its neck as I said, Clamp Champ, right? Tighten his arms around the snake. And the snake snapping and trying to coil. And at this point, He-Man charges up a thunder punch and just throws it right into the lower jaw of the snake, and knocks it out cold.
I'm kind of seeing this a little bit too.
Yeah, something along those lines. We're talking something very massive in scale that's not just taken down so easy.
Yeah,
it's going to take He-Man to take the snake out, and doesn't kill it, just knocks it the fuck out. So at this point, they reach the gate, and something that is not on this, but I thought would be kind of fun to include it, would be the trap door, which was on the Vintage Snake Mountain. So I just thought it was appropriate just to include that, since Snake Mountain was never really used in that capacity in Filmation or in the Vintage toy line.
Let's actually talk about the. Let me bring it up again. So we have our exterior of the playset here. This was also posed. Wish we could see the inside of that Vine Jungle playset. What would you put on the inside of this playset?
Well, I'm kind of getting to that.
Okay.
And it's probably, some of it could work. Not much of this from what I had in mind, because my thinking for this was that it leads down to this big dirt pit area with a large cave behind it, and in the center of it is this made of just random rocks, large rocks thrown together, makes a throne. And surrounding the throne is like this kind of platforms where all the animals gather. So at the throne is chained at the neck King Shollo's daughter Helena, and she's out cold. She's not awake. She's just kind of laying there, just think of you're talking about a visual. Think of Holly Robinson.
Okay.
That's kind of what I had for a visual. Like Holly Robinson from like 21 Jump Street or Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Like,
yeah, I know her more from Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, but like just in terms of like that is kind of what I was thinking. Like the princess would look like. And so the heroes stand up after falling through the trap door, and just see this big dirt pit with this throne, and this beautiful woman chained at the neck to the throne, and this massive black axe is just resting on the throne. There you go.
To give everyone at home a visual, in case you don't know who Holly Robinson.
Yeah, so
Holly Robinson Pete, because she married a football player, Rodney Pete. Just no one cares about that, but I remember her from Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, that's what I remember her more from, even though I watched 21 Jump Street as a kid. So imagine, like, you got our heroes, they stand up, they look around, and all these animals are surrounding and just staring at them. They're not growling, they're not doing anything, they're just staring directly at our heroes here. And the princess, kind of wakes up and looks and is surprised, like, no, you all need to get out of here. And I asked them,
let me ask this. So this area, the animals come in and they're kind of watching. It's almost reflective of the arena that some of these creatures and characters have come from.
Yeah. They're gathering to see what's going to happen here, but they're also under complete obedience. Like, they're not attacking. They're sitting quiet until told to do otherwise. So when she wakens, she says, "You must go now. Unless you have food, you are all doomed." And He-Man tells her, "I understand you're afraid, but we've come to free you and take you back to your father." And she responds, "You must go now. I can't say any more." And He-Man just comes a little closer and says, "Trust me, we will get you to safety while there's nobody to challenge your escape." All of a sudden, you hear someone go, "I challenge."
Now, do you want me to reveal?
Well, let me build up to it, because all
right.
So the heroes look, and they hear that come from the cave behind the throne, and all you hear is just thump, 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 and it gets louder and louder as it starts to emerge. And
okay, now reveal. All right.
Yeah, now reveal.
Here we go. Here's the character behind it all.
And we're going to call him Jygor, not Gygor, because that sounds lame as fuck. So,
because when you say Jygor, it sounds more like giant gorilla.
Yeah.
Using the verbiage there, but this is our character that's behind it. This is the prototype. It kind of explained the history of this character potentially making its way into the toy line.
Yes, yeah. It was used from the Tarzan toy line, repurposed with the black armor, and there it is. Yeah, there's which I'd love to have one of those and customized into a Jygor with everything, because it was such a cool concept, but it looks so villainous. Like it was shown like with He-Man kind of riding on its back.
Yeah,
like right there in that concept, and then there's other. I think there's other illustrations or something where to kind of paint that image, because this character looked very villainous, and I mean, just look at that. He's wearing black armor, a black axe, a cape. doesn't look too much like an upcoming hero in the latest wave of toys.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Don't get that vibe at all.
No, not at all. But it's uh, very, very interesting, and I just thought how appropriate to make this the roller of this unreleased Jungle playset.
Yeah.
Um, so then, at once he's revealed, He-Man steps forward and says, "I am He-Man. We've come here to, in peace on behalf of King Charlotte to free his daughter and hope to achieve peace with." And he's cut off immediately by Jygor. "Peace? Man knows no peace. My kingdom of loyal followers have what man never will: order. I am Jygor. I own this mountain. I own Charlotte's kingdom, and soon I'll own the Vine Jungle and beyond. Man will answer to only one throne." And he goes and he sits on his throne. This one. And so Tila speaks like, this isn't order, this is slavery. These animals aren't living free. And Jygor responds like, royal nobility speaks to me of slavery. You insult me like no other with that blasphemy. You know absolutely nothing of slavery. Not one among you can possibly visualize what being powerless to man is. I spent years of my life watching man take the lives of my animal companions. Siblings I love taken in front of my eyes for mere sport, for the mindless laughter and the cheers of victory on animals who could not defend themselves beyond their primal strengths.
Damn. That's written really well, but I wonder how would it go if we're trying to put that in a mini comic for kids?
The dialogue can be tweaked a little bit, to soften it, to say that my animal companions were forced to fight. I don't know. I'm getting kind of worked up here.
No, I think it's great. I think it's amazing, but also that's when it enters the equation of would it work if they're trying to put it in condensed form in a mini comic. That's where I think maybe it works better being.
Well, I guess to kind of even take a note from like the Disappearing Dragons, forced to fight for man's amusement.
Yeah.
And that's how you can kind of tweak that. I really was just picturing this massive ape, with the armor on and just kind of fists like this and just leaning out towards them and just being so dismissive. He sees them as nothing. You're no different than what I have, battled, what I've seen. You're all alike to me.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love the dialogue that you've written there for him. I love the back and forth, and I love the fact that it's putting him in a light that we often sometimes roll our eyes at. Because in reading that, like, I sympathize with his character and his motives and why he's doing what he's done, because he's clearly seen a lot, gone through a bunch in his own right. So this is one of those times where doing that actually works really well.
I'm glad you feel that way.
Yeah.
I've got some more dialogue here for him.
Yeah, go ahead.
This would be probably like I said, condensed down to is your and I don't envision, like, if this was a mini comic form, he's talking to them and you're not seeing visuals. He's just talking about, because I don't want to allude. I wouldn't want to. I mean, you probably could, but I feel like that might take away like precious panel spacing or panels and things like that, trying to showcase more of what he's talking about.
But you could also maybe make that a really badass, just like one page. It's him sitting on the throne. You could have Tila's word bubble come in from the side, but all around him is just what you have written there for him.
Yeah.
I would sacrifice the page to do something.
Well, I really felt like, too, emphasizing his strength as a character. Like this is the guy that is controlling the Vine Jungle. This is the guy that is, or wants to control the Vine Jungle. Like, what it's like. Man have done this to us for centuries. Taking animals and for sport or whatever, food or whatever, and not thinking anything of it. And so he continues, and picture this is like a young Jygor, forced into the cage and like watching like from a a cage and like a captive cage and observing what's going on here. So picture like him, like just in deep thought, just looking out. Could be at his at other people fighting, other species fighting, siblings fighting the humans for sport. And so I watched and observed until it was my turn, and I saw a man's weakness, and there are many. His ego, his lust, his greed, his arrogance. I taught myself to fight these weaknesses in the same combat. I swore I would end all who would end us, and I grew in strength, intelligence, courage, and power, becoming the most unbeatable gladiator. My animal allies and I revolted and made them into what they made us. So then Clamp Champ chimes in and says, and what makes you any better than those who imprison you? How is forcing these people below you to feed you while you keep Sholo's daughter as a threat towards them? They haven't done anything but obey your demands, and still you keep pushing for more. When is it enough? And Gygor responds harshly, it will never be enough. You and all like you, you take all you want from the land. There are no limitations to man's greed. Man doesn't care about who he hurts to fulfill his needs and desires.
I think this should be a comic book. I think it should be full-fledged comic book.
Oh, I guess it could easily be.
I really do. Like, I think that works better in that context as opposed to doing it in a mini comic. You know what? Let's change it up. Let's say there's a place that gets released in today's time, and we know that only adults are going to be buying this stuff mostly anyway. You include like a kick-ass full-on comic book with the playset. All right.
Well, then we have to make it like 23, 24 pages then.
I think right
or
there
even 18
with
pages.
I think with the dialogue that you got there, that would be more than enough to really fill out quite a few.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Okay, and then He-Man steps forward and says, Jygor, I'm well aware of the evils men do. That's what we and many others like us are committed to. And then he's cut off again. Enough. And Jygor slams his fist on his throne. He said, the lives of men have many guises. You came here to take what is mine. You want my answer to your demand? Then fight me, man. And He-Man says, I make no demands of you, and I certainly won't fight you. I'm asking you to release Helena, and we'll leave you in peace. And Jygor stands scowling down at He-Man. I didn't give you a choice.
Oh. At that point, when he says, I didn't give you a choice, I could hear the other animals surrounding start to make a little bit of a rumble.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit like they're just like, whatever noises that they would make, if it's just the animal noise or if any of them are able to speak,
like grunting, snorting, like
yeah, anything
like it means of like excitement or stress or tension, like just
like that, yeah.
So Jygor grabs his axe and attacks He-Man. He-Man unsheathes his sword and defends himself. He-Man clashes his sword against the mighty battle axe, leaping away from Jygor's endless attacks. Dodging the attacks, he quickly breaks the chains on Helena. Get her to safety. And Clanchep and Tila take her off to the side, and the animals start to sound like they're going to attack. So Clanchep holds on to her, and Tila steps up with her battle staff, and he says, He-Man, don't, leave him alone. Don't attack. And then the fight continues here. Jygor and He-Man clash weapons. And imagine like this one panel where Jygor's got his axe, and He-Man's like bracing it up against it, and Jygor's leaning into him and just growling as loud as he can. Like you see saliva, and just his mouth just expanded as loud, as wide open as it can, just trying to intimidate He-Man.
It's basically you could just see like He-Man's face is right here with the sword.
Yeah,
and he's
looking
just, like,
right up at him, like he's just taking him on here. And He-Man shoves him back to make space, but He-Man doesn't strike at Jygor once, just dodges and blocks the attacks. Jygor swings his axe at He-Man downwards, embedding it into the throne, and He-Man cuts the axe in half. In a moment of shock, Jygor stands surprised. He-Man quickly delivers a right punch, a left punch, followed by a thunder punch uppercut into Jygor's face. And Jygor crashes to the ground. Clouds of dirt emerge all around him because just this the mass of this gorilla crashing to the ground. And He-Man stands over the fallen Jygor and says, stop this madness now. Jygor looks up, bleeding from his mouth, fighting the unconsciousness, and struggles to see right. Go on, man. Do it. Finish me. Claim your mindless glory over a worthless animal. And He-Man just looks at him and says, my purpose in life is to save it, not take it. That includes yours. I'm sorry for what man has done to you and to all your animals, and to all animals. I know nothing can change what happened to you, but we're all not like that, I promise you. You once believed in protecting animals, but you become what you despise. These animals don't live with you, they live to serve you. It makes you no better than the man that harmed you. I'm giving you the chance to remember who you once were. The people you harm have no interest in harming you or your animal kingdom. Show them and all animals that your purpose is to preserve life, not to enslave it. He-Man sheathes his power sword and offers his hand to help Jygor up. Jygor hesitates and accepts, standing up confused. He stands, moving around in confusion, trying to comprehend these recent events. He backs up a bit, baffled by He-Man. And He-Man says, Jygor, you have my word. No harm will ever come to you or your society, not ever again. Yes, there are many evils in this world that simply exist to hurt others. But that's why my friends and I are here, to stop all evil, no matter what it looks like. Allow yourself a new beginning. Help us protect your friends by becoming our friends. And Jygor just picture like this, a gorilla just kind of moving his head around, just like kind of snorting and just, trying to comprehend this.
Very, very reluctant to
Yes.
want to go through with what was just told to him.
So Jygor snorts as he thinks harder than he's ever thought before. He slowly removes his helmet and drops it on the ground and comes towards He-Man. I never dreamed mercy and compassion existed in man. He steps forward and looks down at He-Man. I'm glad I could discover it resides in you, He-Man. Calling him He-Man by his act and not just referring to him as man. Jygor raises his paw to He-Man, and He-Man smiles and clutches the mighty paw with both hands.
Okay, yeah.
There we go.
Dude, put this up here from Rebel Wookiee. I love this. Plays out like a Conan story, then ends with a moral like the cartoon would.
I was inspired by Conan issue number 28, which is probably my favorite issue of Conan. I've reread it I don't know how many times, which is the title's like the I think the official I think it's damn it, God, I've got the damn book in there.
Are we talking about the Marvel?
Yeah, the Marvel
comic.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I got it right here for you. There we go.
Yes, the Monster of Zimbabwe. That's kind of what the germ was. I'm like, and I remember, I think when we discussed that particular comic a long time ago, I thought this would be a great way. I had a completely different idea back then. But that was the germ of what got it going. So if you want to see kind of a more up-to-date look, yeah, envision this, looking down at He-Man, trying to fight him with that massive big-ass axe of his.
Yep. Go buy the Classics figure. It's fantastic.
It does kick a lot of ass. The Four Horsemen did an amazing job with that. And I also felt, too, because it looks like a villain. And that when I got it in hand, I treated it almost like I looked at him as a villain. But then you see, the prototype pictures of, He-Man depicted with him. And I thought, be kind of fun then to kind of showcase him as a villain and who becomes a good guy, which we have seen occasionally in the mythology from time to time. Not all the time, but I'm like, why not make him be as villainous as possible with his own, agenda, but then make him an ally of He-Man. So picturing him going into battle, taking on Beastman and Cobra Khan.
That was actually what I was gonna. You could probably make another story in regards to Beastman trying to tame him and control him too.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Just for a brief moment, I was like, I could have Beastman kind of tied to his origins. No, I don't. I wanted this to be as far removed. It's a separate thing. Not everything that happens on Eternia has got to be all connected together. I'm so against, people being related to each other, and this character is responsible for this and that. You can do it here and there, but the planet's too fucking big, to just have everybody that have these characters that we're already very familiar with be connected to every event that happens on this planet.
Hey man, it's Adam and Eve. Come on.
Yeah, it's just doesn't need to be that way.
No, so, it could be a comic book. Honestly, it could be. I could see that being an episode.
Yeah, because
maybe you might roll your eyes at this. Maybe not necessarily an episode of Filmation per se. It could. I could have easily have seen that being more like an MYP kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as long as it's not Jigor's not given bad voice acting and I felt like the writers back then tended to want to relate everybody to each other, and it's like, oh god, here we go.
I'm gonna put James on blast here. He's been working on something. I won't divulge the information, but you'll kind of get the gist of it. Tyler, think of MYP and think of an episode that you hate probably more than anything in the entire series. You don't have to say what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us, most of you at home, sorry, not us, but most of you at home that have been watching the shows on this channel for eons now, probably putting the pieces together. Tyler knows probably exactly what episode I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
James likes that episode. I just want to put that out there.
I think I gotta challenge that, because then I feel like I remember him saying he likes the sequel, like where that character shows up in another episode and says that was better. He doesn't like the initial episode, called the Star Shit.
We'll talk about it after the show.
Okay.
Because we might be slightly off on our brainwaves here.
Okay, we might be, because I know for the most part, me and him tend to agree. I on the majority of episodes, certain ones.
There is a terrible episode of MYP that James.
MYP.
No, yeah, MYP.
Oh, I thought you meant Filmation.
No. MYP. Think of the one that you hate the most from MYP, and James likes.
I don't know how the hell he would like that episode. I don't know. I don't know how he would like that episode, but I do know James has a fondness for MYP.
Yeah, he made a point to explain that, which I was like, I honestly didn't know that.
Which he's told me before. I'm like, it has its moments, and there's some things I genuinely like, but overall, it's not a series I go back and revisit. And very few elements I pull from that is keep pushing the mythology forward. Like, I love the origin of Tubat. I love the up to date of Count Marzo, but.
And Evil Seed. You liked Evil Seed.
I liked Evil Seed a lot too. I still say Filmation's version was better, but I loved MYP Evil Seed. I really did. Excuse me. And I like the three giants, Asdar, Beldar, or whatever the fuck. I can't remember. No, he's not the name after a conehead. Belsdar or something like that. And they're called ABC giants. But there's certain things I like, but I don't revisit the show. I really don't.
That's totally fair. I just wanted to put that out there. I want to put James on blast a little bit, because I know he'll go and watch this episode at some point. I guess it's just
that's something we have to do with him. Is I would not want to watch that particular episode, because I'd rather watch an Apple Brown, than to watch that episode. But maybe having a debate or a discussion about. Because we've talked about certain MYP episodes in the past that were well done, but it's just there's certain things that kind of bad dialogue, or characters going over the top with flipping backwards and forth. Like, dude.
I discussed. Well, I mentioned it in a voice note to him. I don't look at that as a nitpick. I look at that as just it was the style of the time. Early 2000s. That's just what most of those cartoons were doing.
Yeah, and I'm like, it worked in minute quantities.
Right.
if they had toned it back a lot more, and when someone gets punched, whether it's by Tila punching someone or knocking someone down, that everyone doesn't go flying a mile in the other direction. It's just like you're not having any rules. You're just kind of getting crazy with everything because, everyone can fly all over the place, and everyone's got the strength of He-Man. When it's like, who cares?
That nitpick I get, but also too when I've watched it, because I haven't watched NYP since the last time we had to discuss it when we did an episode. I don't think much. I don't pay attention to it. It's just like, it's there. I get it. It's done so much that I become desensitized to it. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
They're doing their thing.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm like, I love the additions of the Caligars, the race that Whiplash comes from, the Spallians, things like that. Larry D. Taylor did some of like the Faceless one, like Larry did some of the best episodes. The look of Keldor, and that they really weren't, and I'm sure they were going that direction, which I as we all know, I'm not fond of having Keldor be related to He-Man and King Randor, but like the look of Keldor and his early beginnings and stuff like that, there's some cool things, but we don't. I could we could waste several hours of talking about what they really screwed up on, and just knowing full well they like, oh yeah, we're aware of Hero, we just decided to go in a different direction. So
well, maybe one day, but let's circle back around to Beyond the Vine Jungle story. I could see it fitting very well in NYP. I could see it fitting very well in Filmation, but I think you would have to tweak a couple things. Much like if you're doing a mini comic, there's stuff that you would obviously have to condense down. I see this, as I said before, I think working really, really well in just like a standard comic book format. I do. I loved it. I think it's fantastic.
I wish I wouldn't second guess myself, because I get thinking like, man,
why do you do that?
I don't know, because when I come up with, oh my god, this is genius, and then it gets down to like, okay, now I got to show it to Nathan. I'm like, man, this may be.
Well, what aspect of it are you doubting yourself with this story in particular? What point are you like, this might not work when I say it out loud to me and to everyone listening and watching?
No real particular aspect. It's just, is it as epic as what I feel this property and mythology deserves? Like, yeah, not every story from the mini comics to the comic books to Filmation to MYP, they were not all home runs, but I would want to be, like someone like Larry D. Taylor or Paul Dini, who's, when you're doing an episode, you want to deliver the best one you can, even though, not all of Larry's episodes are great. 99% of them were. But like City Beneath the Sea, I don't like that episode. James probably likes it. Probably, I'm assuming he does. But I think it's just like with anything else. It's like, I'm thinking as I'm writing, oh, that's a good idea, and tweak this and tweak that. Like, oh, that's even better. And just, even though in my mind, I'm like, I couldn't wait to share this with you. And then when it comes down to showing, I'm like, man, I hope it landed the way that I wanted it to. And obviously I think it did. So it's no particular element. I always want to make sure the dialogue is written very serious in tone. It's not, like pretentious and preachy and all that other, Christopher Nolan bullshit. But that it hammers home. It really delivers what He-Man is about. It builds the villain up for its moment. You build the threats up. You're working the things that are really important, like making sure the jungle place is used effectively. The reveal of who is behind all this, like that it has, impact, and that the resolution is like, oh man, this is awesome. Like that's how I want to feel when I'm reading someone else's story. So.
Yeah, you mentioned City Beneath the Sea, so I got curious. No, James gives us the Bret Hart a 4 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Bret Hart.
Because that's what Bret would do. Just like, he'd be like, yeah, he was good promo, but he wasn't a great wrestler.
Yeah.
4 out of 10.
Yeah. We need to incorporate that as one. Yeah, it's like just a running joke with us.
Probably should. I could probably let's look up Bret Hart 4 out of 10 right now. But no, Tyler, like I think over the years it's pretty much been established that I I can't speak for everyone, and I haven't seen any feedback as such that would say, Tyler, this was awful and this was terrible.
Yeah.
I think for the vast majority, people listened to your stories and are like, this is brilliant. Because I mean, you got to think about it too. Like people can. I don't want to. I don't want to get down this trail at all. But like, you have people like me, right, who are just kind of like the ones that will just kind of toss stuff out there and hope that it like sticks to something and becomes great. That's why this works so well, because when you and I are like trying to come up with ideas and everything, like I'll toss something out, you'll toss something out, and then we're kind of like whatever. You're kind of thinking a little bit more ahead. I'm thinking more of just the creative visual.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the channel, it's like, how can we make this and turn it into something? That's how the kumites and the tier list sort of became a thing.
Yeah.
It's like visually, will this work for everyone? But going back to it, you've always been this way, and I think that's what sets you apart. Like you're always looking at it. I mean, you have the drawings on your walls. Like those drawings tell a story. Like you're always looking at it of what's the story that we can tell with this kind of thing. So you visualize something and you're like, let's make a story for that. And I no notes on my end. If anyone at home, anyone here in the chat, you feel free to. But any criticisms, comments, leave that stuff down there, and we can address it either live or the following week. If there's any critiques that you have, toss them out there.
Yeah, I'm certainly not one of those types who will run and hide or cancel people because they say something that is constructive criticism, or even if you don't like it. Like, I'm sorry, but we can't do what we do and just expect everyone to just there.
There it is. There it is.
That's
I'll keep that one. I'll save that one.
Yeah, we got to keep that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know there are a lot of Nancy boys out there on various platforms on social media and on YouTube and all over the internet. They just want you to agree with them, tell them how great they are. If you say you don't like this for constructive reasons, or even if you're just being an asshole, like they just want to silence you and make sure you can't say anything negative. Like, dude, I'm sorry, grow a pair of balls. You're willing to put yourself out there. You got to be willing to take the good with the bad.
Right.
It can't just be always people just telling you how great you are and pat you on the head and all this other stuff. It's like, if you do something that's not that good, or in your mind you think it's great, might be someone else there who thinks, you know what, Tyler, that was a pretty uninspired story. And you know what? That's okay.
Now I'm just waiting for someone to just purposely put in the comments, Tyler, that was an uninspired story, and just leave it at that.
Yeah, fraud. And just,
But no, we'll start making that a regular thing, because usually try to take some questions that we have while we're live, that the people that have joined us in the chat put in there. But also, if you got questions and you want to leave them after the fact in the comments, we can start reading those the following week. It's just like either questions, comments. We can start like the following week from the previous week. It's just like, hey, we got some stuff here that we'll read. Yes,
absolutely. I'm gonna send you this, and like from what we've done tonight, I told Nathan a few weeks ago I started writing this already. So if you want to, I'll just share the cover here.
Okay.
I had this commissioned just as an idea. I didn't even have a story behind it, but I started to come up with one a while back, and just to kind of let people know, like, sometime down the pipeline, I'll finish it. And this here.
Actually, let me open it up and show it to where we can zoom in on everything, so people get a better idea of what we got going on here. Here we go. So this is called The Most Dangerous Duo.
Yeah, which I originally was going to call it The Most Deadliest Duo, but I forgot at the last minute after I told Kevin, because he forgot what the title was supposed to be. But it's a mock mini comic cover because Webster and Cobra Khan did not get their own mini comic. They're featured briefly, very briefly, in the '84 wave of mini comics. I was like, what? These guys should have gotten their own. So I just came up with the cover depicting like what they do best. You know, Webster with his grappling cable, Cobra Khan, the Master of Snakes, and all those mini comics in '84 always took place in front of Castle Grayskull. That's one of the things I loved about the mini comics back then. Like, no matter what it was, always took place in front of Castle Grayskull. So this would be an origin story of not of where they, you know, where did Cobra Khan come from? But no, their first appearance in the mythology would be in this particular story. And I had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't even plan on it, but I just thought, you know, like there might be kind of a story here. So I started writing it, and you know, maybe down the road we can share this one.
Okay.
Yeah, and Kevin's working on another one for me of another duo of characters that didn't get their own mini comic. They were featured briefly, but didn't get their own. So he's currently working on another one too. It'll have a title, everything inked and all as well. So I might have to come up with a story for that one and various others. But you know, me and Nathan talked about other, because it's been a lot of fun, really, of like putting together these story ideas, like advancing the mythology, giving characters even more bigger moments to shine, since, you know, you're not going to get it in current, you know, media, no matter where it's at. And it's just been a lot of fun for me and Nathan kind of spitball ideas along with other ideas for content. Like,
yeah,
you know, we're not, I'm not going to spoil anything, but we have a what if series that
yep.
we're going to dive into periodically as well.
For those of you that have stuck with us for all this time, you'll remember, hopefully you do anyway, that we did a couple of what if scenarios. I think we did 2 episodes in the past. We have a couple more ideas that we're gonna do for future episodes. Also, in the future, very very soon-ish future, I'm gonna do another Kumite.
Yeah.
And it's probably not what you're expecting either. So that'll be an interesting take.
Yeah, but it is Masters of the Universe.
It is Master Universe.
Yeah.
I want to stress that. But also too, we have some other ideas for just other cartoons and other kumites, other tier lists involving non-Master Universe stuff that will be here on this channel. So stay tuned for all of that. Here's a comment from Motu Drew. No questions, but thank you, Nathan and Tyler. Appreciate you guys doing the show.
Oh, thank you, Drew. Appreciate you giving us your time and just tuning in and see what we had to say, man. I appreciate you. Appreciate that.
Going back to canon earlier, and I mentioned I watched Over the Top.
I have never seen it in its entirety because I had a hard time as a kid watching it.
I haven't either. So this was my first full watch through of Over the Top, and it's pretty bad. Like, it's if we were to do a Stallone tier list, I'm of 2 minds, because I think that it's a very fun bad movie, but in terms of just stacking up amongst Stallone's filmography, for doing a tier list of that, it's definitely going towards the bottom for sure.
God.
But it is it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Oh man.
Well, I have to ask you, like, because this is one of the biggest reasons I couldn't watch it as a kid was the kid who plays his son.
Oh yeah, he sucks.
Oh my God,
he sucks, but he's hilarious. Like, I watched him, and I just laughed at just everything that came out of his mouth, and just what's his face that plays like the evil grandfather.
Yeah, he was in Big and some
yeah.
others. Yeah,
like it's just complete. It's the title for the movie is very fitting for the contents of every aspect of that movie. It's all over the top.
I mean, I'm such a Stallone.
And Stallone wrote it.
Yeah.
Co-wrote it, I should say, with the screenplay. But it's hilarious. Since you're okay with watching terrible movies now, I think you should watch it. I think you'll have a lot of. It's just stupid.
I'm not opposed to just sitting down and watching it. I think as a kid, when I saw it in the video stores, I just didn't know what it was. And then when I learned it's about arm wrestling, I was just like, that's not wrestling. I
Yeah.
like that. That's the only thing that intrigued me was like, wrestling. That's the only combative, and like arm wrestling, I just thought was lame. I was like,
Yeah.
that doesn't intrigue
It's
me
just
at all.
he's
So
a truck driver.
yeah,
He was an absent father. His ex-wife, maybe she's still his wife in the film, but they're not together. I'm just gonna say ex-wife, because I can't remember. She's dying. She's got cancer or whatever, and then you got her dad, the dude from Big, that's just like, I've raised this boy and blah blah blah, and then you got the like dipshit kid, and then you throw in the arm wrestling in Vegas, and all those guys are just pretty one dimensional, and there's not as much of a focus on arm wrestling in the film as you would think. It happens very much towards the end with just some stuff spliced in between, but
gotcha.
it's a lot of him trying to bond with this kid, and this kid's just like, "You're weird. I don't like you." I think you should watch it. It's weird that it's taken me this long to watch. I don't know why it's taken me so long to watch Over the Top, but
And I feel like I know so many people who've seen it, and I'm like, I couldn't stomach it when it would be on TBS as a kid. Like, I can't watch this. This kid gets on my damn nerves.
yeah, yeah. I think you would appreciate it for its badness now,
Yeah.
but give it a shot.
No, I'm totally.
It's free. It's free on YouTube.
Okay. All right. Well, then I got some time this weekend, so I might try and squeeze a showing of that in, and let you know what I think about it.
Also on board, I'm probably gonna start it tonight, hopefully. But Pee-wee as himself, the documentary Paul Rubens, is on Max that premiered today, and I'm very much looking forward to watching that. And also, this is gonna sound really stupid, and you're gonna laugh at me. Prime Video put out it's a 4-part documentary. Only 2 parts of it are up now. The other 2 episodes will premiere next week. It's on Dale Earnhardt, and I was like, this looks kind of intriguing. I watched the first episode because it seems like they're all going to just be an hour apiece.
Mm-hmm.
Watch that first episode. I'm like, you know what? This is where the shit is right here. Like the racing that they were doing, like in the 70s and like early to mid to late 80s. I'm like, this is where it's at. Before they started, and people are going to be like, how do you know all this? I'll explain it in a second. Before they started doing all this restrictor plate stuff and like all these other rules and regulations that they implemented in the 90s, early 2000s, and for great reason. But watching that and having like Daryl Waltrip talk about Earnhardt, and because they were very competitive there in the early 80s, and Earnhardt during one of the races like clips Waltrip, spins him in the wall, wrecks him, and they show the archive footage. It was like, oh, what happened back there? And Earnhardt's just like, we were just racing. And Waltrip was like, he ran me in the wall. And then they talk to, the other interviews that they do in present day, and they're just like, yeah, he wrecked him. Like that's what it was. Like I was on his side, but he wrecked him. But just looking at that aspect from racing, got now at this point like 45 years ago, I was like, yeah, this was an entirely different sport back then. So I appreciate it in that regard. And what else was I going to say about it? The amount of money. Let's talk about that too. Sorry, this is just like going off on this weird tangent, but the amount of money, even if you're winning in that sport, and then I've been watching a lot of stuff on baseball around that time period, basketball around that time period.
Mm-hmm.
Amount, it's weird how everything has shifted from the owners, much like Beyond the Vine Jungle. This power shift has happened where before the owners had the control. So these players, these drivers, they're locked into these long-term contracts.
Yeah.
That's why you didn't see players switching teams. Nowadays, players just are like, yep, I'm out, see ya. So the players have the players are in total control. So it was interesting to see all that. But I'm a huge sucker for sport documentaries from like, gosh, probably like 95 backward, more or less. And I'm not by no means have I think I've only been into NASCAR like mid 90s, and most of the time my NASCAR knowledge just came from my grandfather on my mom's side because he taped every race. He's somewhere probably got like, I don't know, 10, 15 years worth of NASCAR races on VHS.
Jeez,
Yeah.
that's devotion.
Yeah. I don't know where those tapes are. Hopefully in a decent spot where they're not molded, because that would be a gold mine to take those and archive those somehow. It'd be
Yeah.
a very time consuming thing, but to have televised all the televised races from those eras and all those years and digitize those and like put them on the internet or something, that would be amazing. But yeah, sorry to bore everyone with
No worries.
NASCAR talk.
No worries. I mean, they upload, classic NBA games on YouTube, like the full game, like the full broadcast uploaded on there. And I know various other games are as well. Like, why not? Why does everything just have to be forgotten and just shown on like, random clips on ESPN, because ESPN sucks. So
This is true. I heard that they cut the cord on around the horn after all this time.
yeah, which I never really cared to watch that show. There's people on there that I enjoyed their perspectives on sports, but and it sounds like they just cut it. They just wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
Not that the ratings were good and everyone was happy with it. It just ESPN decides to just let's make another unnecessary change.
Yeah. Around the Horn and Pardon the Interruption were staples for me in the early 2000s coming home from school.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I watched too. I'm trying to think. I don't think I watched too many sports shows back then. I think I just watched all I cared about was the TNT pre and halftime show. And
yeah, I've been watching clips of those guys. I'm just like, it's hilarious. there's one, I'm sure you've seen it, where Charles Barkley is like, yeah, they're a bunch of assholes. I mean, and he cuts it back, and and Shaq's just like, go ahead, Chuck, say it again, because they don't care, because they're leaving anyway.
And that's what I love about those guys. Like,
I do too.
You watch the people, and there are people that I either used to like or I still like, but they're sparingly. I just feel that ESPN just turned everything into, well, we're going to tell you how to act. We're going to tell you what to say. It's very, everything is so bland from the broadcast. And I think they're well aware of it, which is why they're determined to keep the TNT crew together going forward. They're going to license it out, but they're going to keep them in Atlanta to do, the pre, post, and halftime shows for TNT, but ESPN will be able to license it out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I do not want to see these guys on an ESPN broadcast. I do not want to see anyone infiltrate from the lousy, from the shows that they do on ESPN. I don't want to see any of them infiltrate the circle of the TNT crew. Right. It's bad enough Draymond Green shows up when his team loses. So now we gotta keep him on there. Like, oh God, there's so many other great players that you could be putting on there. Players that aren't obnoxious, just say stupid shit.
I'm gonna say this again. Just seeing some clips from present NBA, I'm just like, that league, dude. There's some stuff that you really need to fix there. Like, you really. And people have debated everything. It's like, do we create a 4-point line? I'm like, don't do that. That'll make it worse. Then you're just gonna have people taking 4-pointers all day. It's like, how would you fix it? Because all it is just there's no inside game anymore. Because you look back up until this point, especially like in the 90s and the 80s, a lot of it was dominant on the inside in the paint, having the centers, the big guys there, the power forwards doing the work. All the plays were centered around trying to get them the ball and making it happen. And now it's just anybody, like literally any position player, it seems like anymore, they just go up, shoot a three, because it all boils down to who's taking the most 3-point attempts and make it like that's who's going to win the game. I'm like, I don't like that.
Well, and I don't either. And fortunately, the guy who just won the MVP, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, plays for Oklahoma City Thunder. Mm-hmm. He's not a massive 3-point shooter at all. Like, he does jump shots. He's in the paint, and yeah, he can shoot threes. But I think it's one of those things too. He's not another Steph Curry. He's not another guy who's just going to rely on like, well, I'm over the half point line, or I'm
Half
just
court.
half court. I'm just
come on. You're the one that watches basketball.
I know, and I'm like, yeah, I botched that one entirely. So, but that's not what he does, and I like that about him. And I'm hoping right now with, I know no one tuned in to listen to us talk about sports right now, but
hey, we're at the end of the show. I think it's okay.
it is. But like with the current conference finals in the NBA, it's all young teams who have never been to the conference or never
I
been.
like that.
Yeah, and they're
That's cool.
all up and coming guys. There's no like already established superstars right now. They're all up and coming guys from the Knicks, the Timberwolves, the Thunder, and the Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
All young, hungry teams. And I'm like, we will have a new champion this year. And I'm like, these 4 teams right now could be like one's gonna be the because LeBron and Steph Curry ain't got much more left.
Yeah.
When they're gone, like we got to have a couple new faces to keep this thing going, and it could be any one of these guys, even 2 or 3 of these guys. So
yeah,
I'm intrigued by both conference. Like I'm like, whereas my boys like deserved to lose in the first round because they were terrible, but I'm watching these guys now. I'm like, man, I'm really intrigued by this right now. Like I'm really engaged with who's playing right now.
I get that, but I watched the highlights because it was clipped together, and I saw just how the Pacers Knicks game ended.
Oh yeah,
it was a 3-point. And I'm like, well, but I guess they did it to themselves because they changed the rules enough to where you can't like post up on someone, like put your arm like on them like they used to. Now you have to like give them the space, which is they need to just get rid of that, bring it back.
But then when they shoot threes, they kick the leg out, and because they made contact with the defender, it qualifies as a foul.
Yeah, there's nope. Yeah, you need to reconfigure those rules to bring it back to where players can be. There can be a little roughness. I'm not saying like they need to start clotheslining people, but
they let things
gotta bring it back
or chippier during the playoffs. Like there's things that people just tend to get away with. I mean, unless it's like a blatant, shove or like something that's like, okay, I'm sorry, but there's more than just contact there.
Yeah.
They tend to let things go a little bit, but I get it. That's still a constant criticism, along with the load management.
Yeah.
The endless threes. We can all blame His Majesty Steph Curry for that.
Sports desk. Yeah. Tyler, I've been talking about stuff that I plan to check out or I've watched. Anything that you've checked out recently? Because once again, Motu Drew, something I enjoy hearing from you guys, what you're collecting currently, or recent pickups, be it figures, statues, comics, etc. I think movies kind of extend into that as well.
I'm not spending money right now much because I'm trying to save up for some actual conventions coming up, in the coming months, and along with buying more artwork from Kevin.
Yeah.
So that's been my focal point. I'm not buying, any action figures. I'm not looking to do, I'm not doing, I like to look on eBay for fun, but I'm not concentrating on anything but making sure that the 2 conventions are covered financially, and that these ideas I have for Kevin to draw, like I can afford, whatever I'm feeling in the moment. Like, okay, I want you to draw this, that kind of thing. So
same here with me in terms of action figures. I think the last stuff that I got was Rom from Marvel Legends and the new Banshee
cool
that came out.
Yeah, so Banshee I think was the last thing I got, and Nathan picked up the Marvel Legends pack of Psylocke, Banshee, and Gambit for me.
Let me stretch out. It's on Big Bad now to pre-order, but it used to be a Target deal. But
yeah,
the Pee-wee figure, you actually can't open can you? It's taped up here, so I can't do it. But I did get the Pee-wee NECA figure.
I love that it comes with Terry.
Yeah, I do too. Like the face sculpts aren't the absolute best, but
kind of what I was like, when I'm happy with this, after Nathan got me Pee-wee's Playhouse, the place, I'm happy with the Matchbox figure of that.
Yeah, but that's just something I wanted to get because I would put him up here. I maybe put him on the shelf here with the Harryhausen stuff or something.
Oh yeah,
just do something random, and odd with it. But movie wise, nothing you've.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the Pee Wee documentary for sure, and then after that, it's just kind of winging it. Um, I don't have anything. It's nothing that heading into this weekend is like, all right, I want to sit down and watch this. Like, I've been watching a lot of Thundercat cartoons lately. I dabbled in some GoBots last weekend, just
Okay.
just kind of like random stuff. So outside of that, maybe I try and squeeze in watching Over the Top. um, but and something else here too, I want to throw out to Nathan is like another. We can share this as well. Which I think we did talk about this, but I'm like these images here. I would love to work a story involving He-Man with this. This unused Harryhausen concept. I'm like, that just screams like a He-Man mini comic or a comic book. With I'll wait till Nathan brings them up.
Let's see here. I think these were images we may have shown when we did our Jason and the Argonauts.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they did, but
review.
I just as we're talking about ideas and stuff like that. Like, look at this, people. If you didn't see that episode, this was the concept that Ray Harryhausen did for a movie that obviously never got off the ground. It was going to be in the 80s, I believe. But this sacrificial statue where they drop women down to these prehistoric, creatures to feed them. Like, you see that woman falling to her death while the plesiosaurus and I forgot what the other one did. Look at the scale of this, and people are off to the side watching these women falling out of the mouth of the statue to their doom. A volcano in the background. Like, I could totally see this as something like, Merman's involved with something like this,
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think this is such a cool idea.
We'll do that.
I love having reasons that come up with these stories because it's intoxicating, and to have this platform now, like, I love to showcase share the Night Stalker origin story that I came up with that was for a project that didn't come to fruition, and I'm trying to think if there was anything else too, but it's just fun to have this outlet to do it periodically, have a new idea and make it into a story for people to listen to, and if they don't like it, that's no problem. If they love it, great, but it just sucks to have all these ideas and thoughts like, what do I do with it? Now's the perfect time to spread it out from time to time, and I like to do, like, for you and me to do like more of a collaborative thing as well, where they take an idea and you and I just kind of work it out, and then obviously with the wheels, and
the wheels of we did that with Tom was a lot of fun.
We'll have to do that again in the near future as well. But I love having this as an outlet to do new stuff, like new material, not just like new concepts for topics, but just like actually come up with like new stories, things that just I think just giving more life to these characters that just like Zodak, Clamchamp, Spikor,
I think doing something with Zodak would be pretty fun.
I think so too.
It's something we, I guess, sort of mentioned slightly, but really thinking about it now, Zodak, I would add that to the list of a character that we need to come up with something.
Yeah, especially like, and I think it's kind of unanimous. Like, he's a cosmic enforcer as opposed to like where he was like a bounty hunter at first, and then they changed him to he was one of Skeletor's henchmen. And it's just like that's one of the interesting things about this property is the beginnings of how all over the place like the characters were going to be. Like, Merman was going to be a good guy, Stratus was going to be a bad guy.
Yeah,
Zodak was going to be a bounty hunter, and then he's going to be part of Skeletor's forces, and then he's not, and now he's just a guy who keeps the balance, from shifting on the planet, and just and along with that, and expanding the hero story that we never got. I think even the son of He-Man was a cool concept, not necessarily like the one that was suggested, like the one where he's an adopted jungle boy, and like, no, that's like Tim Allen's Jungle to Jungle crap. Like this needs to be the son of Adam and Tila. Like,
I need to watch Jungle to Jungle again.
no, you don't.
Yeah, just for the pure stupid nostalgia for it, because um, my parents were all, because they, I mean, I guess to an extent I did too. I'll be honest. I'll put it out there for everyone. Home Improvement was something that we watched every week. It was what it was. Looking back on it now, it's terrible. But you know, once he used that as a launching pad for Hollywood, and then we get Jungle to Jungle, Santa Claus. Those movies that come out, we would have to rent them. Speaking of which, you'll love this. My dad, he was like, we were on the porch. I went to their house and he was talking about it, because he's a Statham fan. He loves Statham movies. And he was like, yeah, Beekeeper 2. And I was like, Dad, Beekeeper 2. No, yeah, no. Oh, wait, no, it's what's it called? And I looked it up as Working Man.
Oh,
he's like, when's that come out on Blu-ray? And I'm like, June 10th. I was like, Dad, I'll get you that for Father's Day. How about that? He's like, I love it. But he doesn't fall for them, because, as he says, I don't click on them, even though they're on YouTube. But he was just like, yeah, Equalizer 4. And I'm like, Dad, I think that's just like the stupid make-believe trailers that people put together.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't fall for any of that stuff. I'll let you know when Equalizer 4 is coming out, because he likes Denzel in these action movies too, for whatever reason. So I like to see that aspect of my dad's movie viewing habits hasn't changed since the 80s. He's just like, yep, it's an action movie with this guy. I'm going to watch it. And then he likes that movie and then follows that actor if they do more in the genre. So that hasn't changed at all. So he's a Statham guy these days.
Which after the first Expendables, I was like, all right, I don't mind him. I'm not going to go watch a bunch of Statham movies, but you know, he's fine compared to what else is out there that they're shoving down your throats as leading in action films.
I might be wrong on this. What was it? I'm pretty sure it's a Statham movie. What was the one that Chris Sarandon was in? Safe. Okay. Yeah.
Which
I don't know. I don't know if Dad's watched that.
I remember because we went to the theater to go see it. This was right after we met him at Mad Monster. So that was my main motivation to go see it. Like, Chris Sarandon, like, I just met him. And I remember I enjoyed it. I even bought it, but I never watched it. So
it's got James Hong in it too.
Yeah, James Hong was in it. It was an enjoyable movie from what I remember.
All right, Dad, if you haven't watched Safe, we'll try to track that one down for you too.
If I still have my copy that I never opened up to watch again, I'll just...
Hey, there we go.
Well, that's if I didn't give it away already.
Yeah, if you didn't give it away, Tyler, if you still have it, you let me know. Dad, you probably haven't watched it. I assume that you haven't. We'll hook you up.
Yeah. But he'll enjoy it. If he likes all the others, he'll definitely enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll text me here in a minute if he's watching. Be like, yeah, that'll be good. A comment here, Brad Collins, on the new look and format, guys. It's opened a rabbit hole of new ideas. So let's go ahead. And we will end the episode on this because people have been asking. We've gotten comments about it. We'll make it nice and short and sweet for everybody. What happened to Fans of Power? What's the story with the channel's name change? Has it been discussed already? So I will. You're going to be a little very underwhelmed by this, if we're being honest. It was time to change it up. People have asked, it's going to be Tyler and I moving forward. As of now, Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern time, looking to be the weekly showtime. That could also change in the future depending on how my work schedule ends up going forward, because that's a little bit in limbo. I won't get into that too much, but that could change as well. No ill will, no drama. It was just time to change everything, really, about how the show was presented to you guys listening and watching, which we still appreciate all of you that have checked in. But also, same token, I understand if there's reasons now that you wouldn't want to stick around. I totally understand that too, but we hope that you do. So it's basically just a soft reboot of the channel. So we will go ahead and leave it at that. I appreciate all of you that joined us here live, all of you that watch us well after the fact. Appreciate you giving it a click. But also, if you're new, make sure you subscribe. And if you enjoyed this, click the like button, comment down below. Give us your thoughts on Tyler's story, because it is mostly Tyler's story. I want to toss it out there.
I guess
I helped you along.
It was supposed to be more of a collaborative thing, and the more I kept
nope, you're fine. But as Tyler said, I said this too, leave criticisms down below for the story if there's something about it that you didn't enjoy. But if you did, leave comments as well. Make sure you sub, like, do all those things. And Tyler, until later, let the power return.
I used to have a roommate, but my mom moved to Florida.
I feel like I should know this one.
Oh, you should, because you saw it in theaters. We've talked about this endless times.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Used to have a roommate and she moved down to Florida.
No, but my mom moved to Florida.
But my mom moved to Florida.
Yeah.
Can't give me a hint.
I was trying to think of another line from the movie that's not going to be a dead giveaway, because yes, you've seen this movie a lot.
You can make me feel stupid.
Okay. You're like, Johnny, where the hell are you from anyway? The Upper West Side? Or you're not going to get a green card with that attitude?
I feel like an idiot right now.
Well, I'm going a little obscure with this movie. I'm all right. God. Let's see. Well, you and I saw it the same time in theaters. We didn't see it. I don't know if you and I were the same theater, but you and I saw this the summer it came out. We were both pretty little.
I'm gonna say, I think I know now. 2. It's a sequel?
Yes.
I don't know. Just make me feel like an idiot.
Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're yeah, okay.
But, what a maroon.
Yeah, I'm a moron. Yeah. You're a moron.
Yeah. That's what we need to have that line just to throw at each other from time to time. You're a moron.
I could probably make it the stinger for the things. Thanks for watching.
You probably could. Thanks for giving us your time, everybody.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys soon. Thanks.
Take care.
Currently cooking up some turds to go with it. Not soft ones. Have them out to y'all tomorrow.